Hey guys, so a lot of you guys have been requesting a video all about elongating male figures. It is my most requested video to date, and so here we go. If you are familiar with my channel or with my teaching methods, I have a 4-step croquis building process for beginners. Now, I'm going to painstakingly go through all four steps in much detail over the course of a couple of different videos because I'm assuming that you don't know how to draw. And then later, as you get better and you practice more, you can skip steps, you can bundle steps, whatever. You could do whatever you want, but this is why my croquis building videos are on the long side. It's a little bit weird teaching via video because when I'm in class, I do the demos and I build on the demos because I know that the students already saw the other demo. But when I'm here, I have no idea which video you guys have watched already. And so basically, I just present all the information all over again. So if you have not seen the other videos on croquis building, that's fine. We're good. All right? You can just watch this one. Now, if you want to learn how to do a standard, like not elongated male figure, go watch that video. I'll post a link in the info box. 4 steps of croquis building, really quick. Number 1, tracing the gesture, getting the pose, getting the proportions, mapping out the pose. Number 2, building the body, fleshing it out into kind of like a little robotic figure so you get a gist of the horizontal proportions. Step 3, adding anatomy, where we start building the muscle shapes. We start, carving out where we can see the bone points, like at our wrists and stuff. And then 4, photoshopping or editing with pencil, where we start finessing and making corrections and then making changes to the figure to suit the customer we want to dress. The materials you'll need today: pretty pictures of handsome men, physically fit, in the body type, like close to the body type you're looking for, and they need to not be wearing much in the way of clothes because, especially if you're a beginner, if they're wearing a full-on 3-piece suit, you're not going to know what's going on with their bodies. You're not going to understand their anatomical shapes. You're not going to be able to draw their muscles correctly. So get pictures like these where the guys are wearing very little. You will need skinny mechanical pencil, 0.3 or 0.5, skinny erasers, and a clear graph ruler, tracing paper. Let's start with this guy. This is a nice standard walking pose. Here are the reasons why I like this visual reference. It's a large photo, that I can print full size, unpixelated. The lighting is really clean, so I can see all his muscles and bones and whatnot. He is not wearing much in the way of clothing, so I can really see his pose and what all his muscles look like. And he's in a nice walking pose. It's relaxed. I'm guessing he has a really nice runway walk. He doesn't look stiff and awkward. The first thing you want to do is figure out your center of gravity. And your center of gravity is the center of the weight in your feet all the way to your suprasternal notch, which is the pit of your throat. With this guy, you can tell that all his weight is on this leg because his toes are hovering on the floor. There's no weight here. And so his plumb line goes from the middle of this ankle to his suprasternal notch. If you have a pose like this, where his weight is more evenly distributed between both feet, I put the plumb line in the center and straight through his suprasternal notch. No matter what pose it is, if you can't figure out the weight distribution just by looking, you can get up, do the pose that your model is doing on your own, and you'll be able to figure out, oh no, okay, most of my weight is on this leg. No, it's mostly on this leg, or it's completely on this leg, and this foot is only there for balance. and you can place your weight distribution accordingly. When you look at something like this, you might be thinking, Zoe, his center of gravity is not parallel to the sides of the paper. Screw the paper. It doesn't matter. Just ignore it. And you're like, how can I ignore it? It looks weird. It doesn't look weird, okay? There are these things called Photoshop. There's these things called photographers not holding their camera right side up, like completely perfectly straight. Don't worry about it. So I've drawn my plumb line. The next thing you want to do is measure the head. Standard elongated female fashion figures are about 10 heads long, and men are 9.5 heads. So let's figure out what a head is. It's like 1 5/16. And then I'm going to mark off 10 increments at 1 5/16. And then mark your numbers. Flip it over. And you want to flip it over so that no matter how many corrections you make and have to erase a million times, you still have your plumb line and your head markers back there. So line up your plumb lines and get that one mark right under his chin. Like, do I have to number the heads? Yes, you do. You'd be amazed at how many oddly proportioned legs I've seen because students forgot and they put their knees in the wrong place, and then they have these super long thighs and these calves are like this long. As we're elongating this figure, we're going to be moving the paper up and down. And you always want to make sure that your plumb lines are lined up. You never want to see two plumb lines. You never want it to start scooching around because then you'll start distorting the body. So make sure your plumb lines are matched up perfectly, always. Not your face, trace your head. Okay, some students, they just trace the face and they're like, how come my head looks so small? Because you never trace the head. That 2 mark should go in the center of his pecs. Here's his shoulder line. Here's the bottom of his pecs. See that 2 is right in the middle. There's the end of his clavicle. You can see that right over his armpit. So we're going to build that pec box. Here's his suprasternal notch. Here's his center front. And then we draw the angle of his neck. We do that second so that we elongate the neck. Because if you do head, neck, and then pecs, you end up elongating the pecs. And then you'll have like strange oblong chest muscles. If you do the pecs first and then the neck, you end up keeping the pecs the same size and then making your neck longer. His shoulders are here. I'm going to mark the width of his shoulders. And then you want to mark his rib cage. So his abs are here. His rib cage goes back there. So we're going to mark that. And there's his center front continuing in this direction. Waist is at 3. Scoot. Keep your plumb lines matched up. Your waist is here. Here is his center front. We're continuing his center front. We've got a nice leaning curve. And then when you mark the waist, you want to mark your elbows. Don't give me like a little dot. That does not help you later when you need to figure out how wide to make things. If you mark how wide his arms are, then you're gonna have some idea as to how wide to make his arms. Men's crotches should be at 4.5. So we're gonna mark that there. We're gonna keep his plumb line matched up, and we're gonna draw his pelvic box. Don't start your pelvic box at the waist. I don't know why students do that, but a lot of them do. And pelvic boxes are where your pelvises are, down here. Okay, so if you need some kind of helping guide, just figure out at least in between the waist and crotch level. So somewhere in the middle there. We're going to continue our center front line. And then this top line should be perpendicular to your center front line. The bottom of your pelvic box should be the same angle as the top of your pelvic box. These 2 lines should be parallel. And this, and this, and this, these 2 boxes should be the same size. You have a little bit of extra here because he is turning a little bit this way, and that's going to be the side of his body because he's slightly 3/4. He is not arching his back. He's not sticking his butt out. He's not angling his pelvis back or forward. So you're not going to see the top or the bottom. You're just going to see the side like that. If you're having a problem with pelvic boxes, I have a video called Troubleshooting Fashion Figures where I do pelvic boxes repeatedly on a bunch of figures. Now, in that video, I do pelvic boxes on women, but the method of doing pelvic boxes is not different. So if you have a problem with pelvic boxes, go ahead and check out that video. I'll drop the link in the info box. Mark your wrists, angle of your forearms. Gesture the hands. I like to make hands a little bit bigger since I'm making him overall bigger. Men's knees are just under the 6 mark. So he's here and here. There's his knee. So keep that plumb line matched up perfectly. You're gonna have a really weird figure. So there's your 6. And again, mark the entire width of the knee and the angle of your thigh. Always mark the weight knee first, and then you can do your other knee. Here's your kneecap, and there's the end of his thigh there because his leg is bent, so I'm going to mark it like that. And then ankles are at 9, and you're like, holy crap, that is a lot of calf. And yes, you're right. And there are 2 reasons why we elongate the calf more than anything. Number 1, it makes the guy look longer and more elegant and leaner and all those good things, more fashionable, leggier, taller, more graceful, all those things we like about male models, but more exaggerated. Number 2, minimum design distortion. When was the last time you designed anything around the calves, really? Like most designers don't, women's wear or men's wear, because designers want to give people the option to hem their pants. This is not really a big design space. And so just to elongate that, it's the figure to flat transfer. It works okay. So we're here. Let's draw the feet. And again, I'm going to make the feet a little bit bigger. Taller people tend to have bigger feet in general, not always. And also a little bit here. And there is step 1 of the elongated figure. Let's do step 2. Step 2 is easy. Step 2, we're just going to flesh him out. We're not going to worry about the anatomy so much. We're just going to make him look a little bit human. Not much in the way of hips for guys or thigh gap. I'm going to mark his plumb line. Here's his angle of his shoulder. Here's the center front. And there he is. Step 1 and 2 of your elongated male fashion figure. At this point, you might be thinking, holy crap, that is a really long figure. And yeah, I get that response a lot. Like, usually what happens is students are really excited to elongate their figures, and then I show them how to elongate their figures, and they kind of freak out because A, they look really long, and B, they're like, how am I supposed to draw leg muscles all stretched out like that? It's called practice. Don't worry about it. And then a couple of weeks of us trying this and working and drawing and practicing, they're all like, oh, I like these figures now. And then they can't go back to the short figures. They look at short figures like this and they're like, oh my God, they're so fat and stumpy. What am I supposed to do with that? That's usually how it goes. So if at first you think they look really weird, don't worry. You are not alone. Just keep practicing. Just keep at it. Let's do this guy. Let's do another one. Let's do this guy. This guy, he is thinner. Usually menswear designers prefer 1 out of 2 bodies or variations of 1 out of 2 bodies. So one, you have like the typical muscular, hunky, works out a bunch, did not forget leg day dude. And then you have the leaner, more androgynous, little twinkier looking, a little bit more slim fit, European, like that kind of skinnier guy. Plumb line, suprasternal notches here. All of his weight is at this ankle. He's just kind of balancing with his toes there. If you don't believe me, stand up into this pose. His head is 1 1/4. So let's put that 1 mark right under his chin. Line up those plumb lines perfectly. Trace his head. I like to mark his center fronts and his ear so that we have a good idea as to which way he's angling his head, and we can figure out where to place his features later. And then this too should be right at the middle of his pecs. There's the angle of his shoulders. Then we add the angle of his neck, and then we have his center front building there. And here's his pec box. Here's his pec box. Here's his rib cage back here. And his shoulders, we're gonna mark that and mark that. His waist is right around there, so I'm not gonna move this paper. I'm just gonna leave his arm there. And, oh, damn it. All right, note to self, add 30/2 of an inch there. I'm going to temporarily move the paper back down for his head and hand placement. I'm going to make sure his hand is positioned, touching his sunglasses per the original pose. And that makes his arm a little bit longer, and that's fine because his arm will get a little bit longer. Crotch is at 4.5. So I drew this line to help me kind of figure out where the crotch is. There is his center front. There is his wrist and his arm. His hand is back here. And let's build his pelvic box. We'll go right under that oblique cut. This is a 90-degree angle. This and this. This is the same size as this. And that's the front plane of his pelvic box. All of this is side. And you're like, what, Zoe? What about this? This is all muscle, gluteus maximus, and we'll get to that. You're just barely going to see the top. His thumb would be right in here. And then knees. If you can't see it, just draw directly on your visual scrap. And then knees are just under the 6 mark. Always do the weight knee first. And then your other knee. Ankles are at 9 again. Weight ankle. Line up your plumb line. Here's your ankle. Here's your calf. Here's your other ankle. Here's your other calf. And then let's mark the feet. And again, I'm going to make his foot a little bit bigger. And there is step 1 of this 3/4 figure. And step 2. Put that V in there, and it's going to angle this way. Don't trace the bulge. Draw the center front line. And yeah, I'm going to give him more butt later. Don't worry about it. Yeah, like there's a lot of crossover there, so that looks about right. And it does kind of look like he's bending his leg back, but his knee is locked. So your legs do, lock back just a tiny bit. And here are steps 1 and 2 for this figure. The next video, I'm going to go over the anatomy, and I'm going to teach you how to draw quadriceps and hamstrings and deltoids and triceps for both standard short and elongated male figures. And then the video after that, I'm going to talk you guys through step 4. So hit the subscribe button to get alerts for when those videos get uploaded. In the meanwhile, enjoy my hair videos and my technical design videos. If this video was helpful, give me a thumbs up. Check out my social media links. They're in the info box below. I like to post a bunch of other stuff as well because I like to share. I'm big on sharing. So if I see cool stuff or if I see things that I think are informative, I like to share. And that's about it. That wraps up this video. If you have any questions, I always love to hear from you guys. So leave me a question in the comments box below. Otherwise, I will see you next time.